Good afternoon, YouTube. Name's Rob Pollard. I'm the software developer for Sojour. I hope you had a great festive holidays break. Mine's been pretty hectic, but the result of which is I'm about to release Sojour 1.5.0.0, and the purpose of this video is to take you through what's changed in this version. Now the really big stuff, the external web pages and so forth, I'll leave towards the end simply because we've covered those before. Now, one thing I want to get across, this is the first public release using my new build server and build tools. In the past I used my own local build system using Jira, Confluence, TeamCity and a few other things, and I've since moved to Azure DevOps. That's because if you follow my blog, a while back I actually got hacked. First time ever that I've been hacked, and specifically my build server got hacked. And the reason why it got hacked, it was running Windows 10, but it hadn't updated itself in quite a while, and I only noticed it after I RDP'd into it, and it was that enabled the hackers to get in. So I guess the moral of the story is, for everyone, make sure you have an updated and supported operating system, because in this case I did nothing. I didn't click on any dodgy links, didn't open any dodgy emails, it just got hacked. So you'd stay safe out there, as it were. So let's start off with the small things. In fact, might as well write it up as well. Let's get it ready so you can see it. So here we go, 1.5.0.0, fresh off the press. So the first thing I'm going to cover, I guess, are some of the bug fixes that have been addressed. The first one was that in the olden days, if you changed a characteristic on a character, it would only update it on the selected map. Now it will update the characteristics across all your maps. So yeah, apparently that one's been in there a while. Another thing that's fixed is, and I didn't know about this until quite recently, basically if your computer has a touchscreen or certain types of mouse touchpads, it could cause the zoom feature on Sojour's maps to just go nuts, and you'd end up with like maximum zoom. And because I do a lot of development on my main machine, and because I primarily use Sojour on my main machine, I've not seen this. So yeah, I've now fixed that. So going forward, Sojour's zoom on the map should be a lot more stable with systems that have a touchscreen or touchpad. Another thing that got fixed, and boy was this royal pain in the rear. Basically, in the past, if you opened up a character and then closed it again, Sojour wouldn't be in focus afterwards, and that's because of a bug in WebView 2, which I use for the PDFs. And basically, this has a PDF section here if you're using PDFs, and yeah, it would cause problems. So you close it, Sojour wouldn't be in focus even though it looked like it was, and it would appear to stop working until you clicked on something. Now it turns out this is a bug with WebView 2, and yeah, it took me a day to fix. It was a horrible threading problem. But anyway, that's now sorted. We don't have to worry about that again. Another thing that we've done as well is to do with how we now render the tokens. In the past, Sojour kind of just randomly rendered the tokens in whichever order it felt was right, which half the time was wrong. So I've introduced code that prioritizes the order that your tokens get rendered. And the big upshot is that campaign assets will be rendered first, so they're always in the background. And if you've set a campaign asset to static, I don't actually have any in this one, but it's just by clicking this checkbox here, make static. So when you make it static, it becomes part of the map essentially, and if you do select that, Sojour will now render those right at the bottom. And that makes sense because at the end of the day, you want your characters to move over the top of these assets like caves or whatever, as opposed to underneath them. So that was a pretty big change that went in. Another change that went in is Sojour now supports many more graphics formats for maps and tokens. Basically, we've added 3 new ones, and that is GIF, WEBP, and another one which I can never remember what it stands for. We can have a look at it here. And AVIF, which is apparently a very new format. So Sojour now supports all of those, and I'll give you a demo now. Let's go load in that AVIF one. Add map, and we want to go desktop assets. There we go. I'll give this a dodgy name in a second once it comes up. There you go. So Sojour can now use all of these additional web formats. I think this is especially important because WebP is like really popular right now, and the one that I just loaded, which I've already forgotten, AVIF, is starting to gain in popularity as well. So yeah, quite important. So Sojour now supports those particular graphics formats. Now, you might be hearing me pausing in this because I actually have a sheet of notes just to make sure I don't forget anything. So let's read out what's next. Oh, this next feature, and boy was it a pain in the rear to code. In the past, with Sojour's maps, you can only pad them with the keys, and these keys are set up under map settings, not map settings, keyboard bindings. But now, thanks to some cunning coding, you can now left click on the map and drag it. So you can now move it around with your mouse. And you would not believe how hard this was to do. It was amazingly hard. And that's because you've got this 2D mouse cursor on a 2D plane trying to pick to a map which is in 3D really. Even when the map is like this, it's really 3D. It's a 2D plane in a 3D world. I tried to get AI to knock me up a diagram to try and make it present the problem, but basically the problem is you move your cursor around on the screen and then it has to figure out the mathematics to grab the right bit of the map and ensure that the right bit of the map stays under the mouse cursor when you move it around. It's yeah, really hairy. I mean, I learned a lot, that's good, but hopefully you should find that a lot easier to navigate around compared to the olden days of continually having to use the keys. I mean, you can use both, whichever one you find that you prefer. The file manager had some alterations made to it. Basically, it now performs a save all prior to certain operations. And another thing it now does, anything in Sojour that's a PDF that you have open, it now properly shuts those down and releases the memory for those. The reason why that's important is because in the bad old days, if you had a PDF open and you say went to restore from backup, you'd probably end up with a crash because Sojour couldn't overwrite the web view cache because there are still outstanding PDFs. So that's being fixed as well. Again, as a bit of hassle to do. So next up, trackable characteristics, our favourite. So I'm about to take you to my worst map ever, which is a dodgy map that I created for one of my scenarios. If you like, by the way, these tokens, these actually, you can get them from Chaosium. They have a token pack for RuneQuest, and that's exactly what these are. I'll leave a link in the description for that, but I like them. They're really well stylized. Now, in the past, the problem with these is Sojour only ever supported up to 4 characteristics. You couldn't have any more. The crazy thing is, internally, it was always coded to support as many as you want. But the reason why I limited it to 4 is because, firstly, space. Like, if you can imagine tokens on your map with like 100 bars on them, it just wouldn't be very nice. And also, I always had the philosophy that it should be easy to target the various characteristics. And for that, I decided that we would use a mouse wheel, which can be anywhere as long as the cursor changes the up and down arrows, and it just works anywhere. So you don't need to be super precise. The idea being is that you then use various keys to switch which bar is being affected. So no keys down, it's the left hand one. If you hold the control key down, it's the middle one. And if you hold the shift key down, it's the right hand one. And if there is a fourth one, because Sojour always uses support 4, you hold shift down control and that works. But that limitation's been taken off. Sojour now allows you to add as many characteristics as you wish. They are manager, and I'll show you how. So here's the current characteristics that we have, and we only have one set. There's only 3. I'm going to add, I don't know, quite a few more. I'm going to give them terrible names. Don't worry about that. This is more of a demo. In fact, key green. So what I'm going to do, I just want to prove that you can go nuts on this, basically, and show you how Sojour handles this. Add another one. T3, and let's add one more. I say that there's no limit other than your computer's ability to store these. You can just go absolutely nuts. So I've added all these extra parameters, but I've added 4 more new ones. That takes a total up to 7 parameters, which is way above Sojour's own 4 parameter limit. So yeah, okay. And of course, the first thing you're thinking there, that's not changed anything. Why aren't any of these tokens suddenly got all of these bars? And that's because if you look at my characteristics video, which you should see top right, Sojour has a philosophy that if any of your characteristics is 0, it just doesn't render it, it just saves time. So for example, if we were to change this one to 4 and hit OK, it will appear. And for that one you used to use shift and control to get that last one. So that's the maximum 4 bars that you used to have. So I guess the question is, how does Sojour actually display these extra bars that we've added? So let's give them some values now. 8 and 6. So we filled out all of Inora's values, but you're still only seeing 4. So what's going on there? Well, the way Sojour works is it only displays these bars in groups of 4, but you can navigate between them with the left and right arrow keys. So as long as this is in focus, see, so you can then, and it's a wraparound as well, so you can keep going left and then it wrap around to beginning and or right and wrap around. Now there are slightly different rules between characters and NPCs. Because characters can appear on multiple maps, changing which group you're looking at on the map does not affect what's up here. But you can change up there by again highlighting the relevant character and using left and right keys, so you could do it up there as well. And whichever one is in focus is the one that is going to be affected. Even if you were to, so like up here top left, this character, we can see it has the first group selected. You can tell by the blue bars. So if I start making an alteration from up here with the mouse wheel, you'll still see the numbers flash up like 8, 9, 10 and so forth, but they'll be in the colors of the original one, so you know it's not any of the current bars that's being affected. If you do want to affect the current bars, it's just a case of switch to say group, and there you go. So that's how I now manage having many more than 4 parameters. And let's say you can go nuts on this, you can add as many characteristics as you want now, which for me personally is great because I play a lot of RuneQuest, as you can see here. RuneQuest does have quite a few things you need to track, but hopefully you folks will find that useful as well. So yeah, the key is left and right, and you get a little bit of help there. If you go there, you can see it tells you all the bits and bobs here, so you don't need to remember it. It's also in the manual as well. The manual's been fully updated, so that's a pretty big thing, because prior to this, Sojour was limited to a maximum of 4 characteristics. Now you can just go nuts. You can just keep adding them to your heart's content, or until you run out of memory, I guess. So I'm just reading down my list. Right, so on to the one feature that you've already seen, which are external web pages. So Sojour can now host web pages within itself, and I'll quickly show you a few. So here's a common one if you're playing Traveller map, and again I'll put links below, so you don't need to memorize these. And we're going to add Traveller map as a resource in Sojour. So all you need to do, click add external page, give it a name. I have to say it's very odd adding Traveller map to a RuneQuest game, but this is only for demo purposes. Hit OK, and that should load up. My world's slowest internet. So there are a few advantages to doing it here rather than through a web browser. The first one is Sojour remembers the state of your page, provided you don't shut the tab. So for example, if I navigate somewhere else, maybe zoom out a bit, wait for it to load. I really need a faster internet connection. Right. This is where I need one of those breaks, like in French, sometime later. Is it going to get there? It's got there. Right, so we've moved this map. Now, if I was to shut Sojour down now, and then reopen it, you'll find that it will remember exactly where you left that map, as you can see there. And that's the big difference between that and a web browser, because every time you open up a web browser, it'll go to default. Now, if for whatever reason you want this to go back to where it started, all you need to do is just close the tab and reopen it again. And Bob's your uncle, it'll go back to the default start. So it's handy, and the fact it's built into Sojour, you're not having to root around to various URLs, it's just there. Now, Sojour also allows you, because at the moment we've targeted a tabbed window, but you can actually target an independent window instead. Don't worry about the small size. Sojour remembers the sizes and where you left it, and you can have as many of these as you want. You can minimize them, maximize them, all that kind of stuff. And if they're minimized and you double click over here, it'll re-maximize it. So it should be easy to find things. And again, if you drop Sojour and come back in it, it will remember the window and its location. And in fact, it will remember this size of the window anyway. So if I was to shut it right now, when I double click it, yes, it will go back to, I guess, the first URL, but it will remember the window size and where you last left it. So again, a handy feature. And if you get bored with having it in a separate window, you can always just send it back to a tab. And there you go. So that's, I guess, the essence of external resources. I'm going to very quickly go through the D-Dice demo that I've already shown, mainly because I want to talk about a few things there. So let's go and add another external page for DD-Dice, which, by the way, is an excellent dice rolling site. Let's just call it DD-Dice. I do have a URL I saved earlier. Control-C, pop that into there, and tab window. There's DD-Dice, and again, just like with Traveller map, you can edit it and make it an independent window if you prefer to have your dice rolls in a separate window, and again it will remember all these bits and bobs. So on to triggers. So not only can Sojour incorporate web pages within it, it can also have those web pages trigger functionality within Sojour. Now there are a few limitations right now because this is a first iteration. The first limitation is I've only decided to include one trigger so far, and that is the table dice roll trigger. I have identified at least 8 or 9 other triggers that I want to add in the future, so at that point this window will become useful. Right now it isn't really, because you only get one choice. The other downside is the technology I'm using. So the triggers currently work by inspecting basically network traffic, and that's all great, providing the website that you're using the trigger on has network traffic, because not all of them do. Some of them you load like a JavaScript application, and some of those JavaScript apps don't have any network traffic at all because they're running solely in the browser. Now, the problem Sojour will have with that right now is it can't detect anything for those because there's no network traffic. Now, I do have a story in to add an additional subsystem to this, which will in effect parse the web page itself as well. So a future iteration of this will both do network calls and web page parsing. So theoretically, once I've incorporated that, these triggers will be a lot more useful because you'll be able to use them on self-contained web apps as well as apps that talk to a server. But right now you are limited to apps that talk to a server. Like I say, it's just early days. I can see external resources providing a lot of power in the future. Anyway, let's go and create the trigger. And of course I've got it set up as an external page, and it will automatically open up the appropriate page because it's going to be reading data from this page in order to work out what to use for the dice rolls. Now, as it says here, the wizard might skip pages. There are 11 pages in it, but it might skip them because the wizard's designed in such a way that it's tried to do as many things as it can automatically. So in an ideal world, you'll only see 4 or 5 pages of the wizard, but there are others. And if you want to see some of the other pages, you'll need to look at one of my earlier videos, which you'll see top right. So let's click next, let's give it a name, let's just call it a dice trigger. Next thing, you can choose whether or not to enable dice expressions. So when dice expressions are enabled, your journals can potentially be injected with the dice expression as well as the result, i.e. 3d6 and 11. And the reason why I've added this option in here is because some dice websites might not give you access to a dice expression. They might only give you access to the results, and this enables you to switch expressions on and off. But we're going to leave them on. And this is the bit where we're invited to basically just roll some dice and enter in the results. So let's go do that now. Let's start with my favourite, 3d6. So 3d6, and we've got a 10, and just enter that into here. Hit next. And of course this says for your follow-on dice, try and make them different each time because it enables the algorithm to better find the data that it needs. So let's go for 2d8 this time. So 2d8, we've got a 10. I wonder if 2 10s will throw the system off, but let's find out. So 2d8, 10. And then finally, let's just go for a whole bunch. So that's 1d4 plus 1d6 plus 1d8 plus 1d10 and we got an 18 for that. Right, when I click next, hopefully Sojour will detect what's going on, but we'll find out. No. So this is pretty good. So I'm showing you what's actually an additional page, and I suspect the reason why Sojour had problems finding things is because there were a few 10s that popped up and it couldn't work out which is which. And in fact, yes, it's the dice roll field that it's having problems with. So what Sojour will do is it presents you with a list of fields that it thinks could be the dice roll field. And generally speaking, the name of the fields is pretty obvious. So I've got a choice of two here. One is called auto clear and the other is called data total value. Now I don't know whether it's the programmer in me, but to my eyes, total value looks like the one because it's like the total value of the dice rolled, as opposed to auto clear, which doesn't seem to bear any relationship to what I need. So I'm going to pick that one, hit next, and there you go. It's now worked out everything it needs in order to make this dice rolling trigger work. But on a good day, you won't even see that page. It will just automatically figure out everything for you. But maybe this is a good demonstration because you're getting to see worst case scenario. So the penultimate page is where you decide what's going to be injected in the journals when you roll these dice. So right now it's going to go rolled dice expression with the result of the result. And a bit like last time, I think we'll go change that. So let's go. Notice that the red writing is dynamic. So Rob P, because it is me, Rob rolled dice X. By the way, that's not case sensitive, don't worry about that. As rolled dice X 3d6 and dot and dice roll. And I had a full stop on the end. So Rob P rolled 3d6 and got 11. That's the kind of text that we're going to see in our journals. Click next. Congratulations, trigger's ready for use, allegedly. So let's see if this works. So let's open up a journal. We've only got one table, a weather table, when it needs a 1d6. Let's go roll the dice. And there you go. Rob P rolled 1d6, got a 2, weather sunny. So, really straightforward. And now I got a 3 overcast and so forth. It really is that simple. And like I say, what you saw just then was worst case scenario because I think it's down to the fact that 2 10s came up and it kind of got a bit confused, couldn't work out what was what, which is why I do recommend when you roll your 3 sets of dice, try and make them as different as possible, and then you end up with a smoother bit of sailing, as it were. One more thing I'm going to show you is what happens if it just completely breaks. We're going to do this by adding another trigger, he says, and I'm deliberately going to screw up everything, basically, just to show you what happens if things go bad. Oh, by the way, this is Windows 11, and I still haven't figured out how to turn that off yet, but it's annoying. Right, so yeah, enable dice expressions, and we're going to roll some dice, and we're just going to invent stuff, like 1d4 2, and then 1d8 7. So we're completely inventing stuff because I want this to fail, just to show you what happens if things go hilariously wrong. I mean, hopefully you'll be entering these in correctly, unlike what I'm doing right now. 3d10 30. So what will happen is when it can't detect anything, you just get this trigger creation failed, Sojour couldn't find a match, and that's it. You have to finish and exit. And in my experience, the 2 occasions this will happen are either because you have done what I just did, entered completely made up values, or the web page you're trying to use isn't using network calls. And as I said, there's quite a few web pages out there that don't use network calls, that they're literally a JavaScript app in the web page. Like I say, this is a limitation of the current version of Sojour. I do have a technical solution to enable Sojour to work with those kind of apps, but it's complicated and I decided not to put it out for this release. You'll get it in a future release. So I think that's everything in 1.5. Just reading my notes again just to make sure we got everything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'd say please report any issues you see, and like I say, for me this is a big thing because this will be my first Sojour release from Azure DevOps, a whole brand new system. I've done a lot of testing. It should work for you, but where it doesn't, please let me know, and then I can get to work and get things fixed up. Now, some of you might be thinking, this is like a really odd day to release, like the 3rd of January. And the reason is, for those who don't know, I'm an indie developer. I'm doing this in my spare time. And anyone that's done any kind of software development knows that to do it well, you need big slots of time. There's nothing worse than doing an hour here or there, because by the time you start your second hour, you're trying to pick up the threads that you dropped on your previous one. So the reason why this release is coming out now is because I just had my festive holiday, but by doing so, it meant that I could literally allocate days and days of work to this, which enables me to focus and get stuff done. It's why most of my releases tend to be around sort of Christmas, maybe Easter, and sometimes summer, because I have the most free time available to do that. And that's why development can sometimes be slow, because my day job, I'm a web developer, and it's a pretty intensive job, as anybody who's done web development can testify to. And because of that, sometimes, you're working at work, you come home, and sometimes the last thing you want to do is pick up code. And you don't want to force it, because if you do, Sojour ends up with dodgy code. And more to the point, when I turn up to work the following morning, I'm still kind of frazzled, and I'm not doing them a good service either. So it's best not to push things, which is why progress can be a little bit slow. But on the plus side, I am continually working on this, and you do get these updates for free once you bought Sojour. And as I said, all feedback is welcome, good and bad. If you think something's really terrible in Sojour, please let me know, because the more feedback I get, the better I can make the system for you. So that's all I have to show. Thank you for watching. Do all the usual YouTubey things, or like, subscribe, all that kind of thing. And I'll see you for the next one. Thank you and goodbye.